Great, welcome. Yeah, thanks again for being here for this lunch and learn on how can SciStarter help your project reach more people. We're excited today to talk with Emma Giles, who's a director at the SciStarter platform, about some of the resources and things that SciStarter has to offer for project leaders that you may or may not know about. I feel like every time I get on their site or read about some of the things that they're offering for Citizen Science Month or for facilitators, I'm always just impressed with all of the tools and resources that they have. Next slide. And so these lunch and learns that we're doing are in line with AAPS's mission to catalyze the field of participatory sciences, to enrich research inquiries, and to serve community priorities. We've been doing more of these discussion-focused events more regularly as an opportunity to hear about some big issues in the field and to have conversations with field leaders. And next slide. And like I mentioned, we are trying to have these be discussion-focused events. And so I think there'll be some opportunities to chime in and share your feedback. We do have some community guidelines. I can link to them or they're up on our website. But these were developed by members of our community for our virtual events. And they just kind of include some basic things like using I statements and sharing the space and always assuming that people mean well. Um, and yeah, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Emma to tell us more about SciStarter resources for project leaders.
Awesome. Thanks, Brianna. And good to see you all in here. If you have not already, please say hi in the chat so I know who I'm talking to. Also, if you already lead a citizen science project, that would be great to know which one, or how you're connected to the citizen science field so I can kind of adjust what I'm saying based on who I'm talking to. So this is all about how we can use SciStarter to help promote projects, either your own or ones that you are very focused on facilitating. So if you do have any specific questions about where you've gotten stuck in the past too for any of this, please let me know, and I'll try to address them as we go as well. And I'm loving that we have international folks online. So hi. Awesome seeing responses. Oh, Fresh Eyes on Ice. Hey, Sarah. Awesome. Coco Ross. Yes. Okay, sweet. All right, so I'll keep looking at that as they come in. Very cool. Okay, sorry, now I'm getting distracted. I'll move us forward in the meantime and then look at it again later. So, if you're not already familiar with SciStar, I'm just going to give you a brief overview as to who we are, what we do, before I jump into how we can help you, to kind of help you understand what part of the industry we try to support. And really, the answer to that is pretty much all of it. So we are the largest citizen science hub. What we mean by that is like a database of citizen science projects. So we're an aggregator. We collect them all from all these different platforms you're familiar with, probably Zooniverse, citsci.org, Anecdata, etc. Even iNaturalist individual projects are on our website. We try to build a big database for everyone so that we can catch all the beginners too, to find all the different ways in which they can be involved based on what they're interested in, whether that be looking up the word fox in the search engine and finding things related to foxes. So who knows? We have thousands of projects, and it's all from the range of like NASA citizen science to animals and nature, history and culture, even like transcription projects, environment, weather and climate like Coco Roz, and health and medicine such as stall catchers, which is an Alzheimer's research project. So we work with a lot of partners, and we want a lot of partners in order to make sure that we can get all these projects available to folks. So if you see something missing, like a platform that does not get engaged yet, feel free to let me know too. This is the infrastructure, the ecosystem of SciStarter. We work to facilitate resources for all of these different groups. The project leaders, so a bunch of you, the facilitators, also a bunch of you, researchers in the field, so people who study what citizen science is and what it does, and the public as the actual volunteers looking for projects. SciStarter really started as a way for the public to find all these access points, and now we've expanded to be all kinds of resources for many different types of individuals. So how do we do this? So aside from being a database, we're also a collector of communities. So we have a very large community of the libraries across the US. We also have some international libraries as well who've tuned in with us. So we have our eyes and ears on a group of folks who are facilitators of programs. Our library network consists of folks who just want to facilitate citizen science and bring citizen science into their communities. We also have the critical infrastructure of building trainings for the folks who get involved in citizen science. So that could be the basics of citizen science. We help with higher education use of citizen science. There's a data literacy training, and then the most recent one is an ambassador training, which is all about learning how to facilitate in your own community. So we try to hit a bunch of boxes here. So one thing I want to mention about that ambassador training is that because we have that training, we also have a group of folks who are certified ambassadors. What that means is that they took the training, but they also applied with us to join a community of folks who are available via a directory, a public directory, for people to reach out and ask for support for their programs or to help brainstorm ways to bring citizen science into the community. So we work with folks who are in that group who are librarians, museum staff members, just community leaders are very like curious people in there, and they're all a part of this group of SciStarter ambassadors. The reason I bring it up now is because it is a new thing for one, so it's something that we really want to push in the coming years to make sure that it is the resource it's meant to be. But also because as project leaders or fellow facilitators, you can reach out to those folks to work with them, to use them as advisors, to help explain your project to them so they can become facilitators for your project. And we'd love to also have you as ambassadors because really what we want them to be is a subject matter expert on citizen science, which you all are already. And so being able to be a part of that community means that you may have an expertise, but you're also able to understand what a facilitator might be needing and why they would reach out to an ambassador to support their work. So that is a great resource in itself. And just to note, which I'll bring this up later as well, but we also have resources for project leaders to reach localized groups of people who have SciStarter accounts. So we have a thing called the People Finder. It's this regional tool where you can kind of draw an image of a circle over an area of the Earth and find the account holders in there. You won't know their names or anything, but you can just send a batch message to that group of folks to notify them of, hey, there's this project happening near you. Please participate to notify them that there's something in their region. Our database works in a way that allows you to see the local projects to you first, but sometimes it helps to send a message. So, and to get some information sent your way or their way, excuse me. All right. So I'm going to pause there for a second. I'm going to jump into what SciStarter can do to actually help you engage volunteers. I'm going to check the chat really fast because I saw some more come in about what projects we have going on. So I wanted to reach those. Ah, recognize names still. I love it. Hiya. Awesome. Oregon, great to see you. Wetlands Watch, Catch the King. I'm not familiar with Catch the King, but I know Wetlands Watch. We've met, pretty sure. And then CS projects, including. Oh, awesome, Lynn. Great. Well, hopefully we can answer some questions for you or figure out how SciStar can be a resource for all that work too. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Glad to see you all in here. If you have specific questions based on your project, feel free to throw them in as we go. So the reason I'm here is because we want to make sure that everyone knows the resources you can use as a project leader, especially on SciStarter, to recruit volunteers and also to re-engage volunteers if they're in existence, but they're not necessarily super active. And so we'll go over, we're going to be reaching volunteers that are already looking for projects. So that would be SciStarter users in general, either having an account or visiting the website and the database. And then number two, using built-in recruitment and analytics tools, which have been around for a while, and we're actually working on updating them too. So it'll only get better from here. I'm sad that I can't show you the mock-ups, but it'll be cool. And then number three, leveraging Citizen Science Month to 2026, excuse me, because we are aiming for 2.5 million acts of science, which also relates to America 250. So for anyone who's from the US or located in the US, it's also the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And so, as a celebration, SciStar is an actual partner. So, our Citizen Science Month is also tied in with that alignment of acts of service, acts of science, or rather, acts of science as an act of service. Okay. All right, so the image I have here on the right-hand side is our form for adding a project. If any of you have added a project to SciStar before, it is fairly simple. We have a lot of options for you, which is great because that means you can add in as much as you'd like, and only so many of them are required. And so you don't have to necessarily fill out everything, but we've tried to cover all our bases. So if you publish on SciStar as a project, that means you filled out this form and we go in and approve it as an actual citizen science opportunity. which is a key item here. We have to make sure that all these projects are vetted to show that it is legitimate citizen science. So you're not joining a database of things that are just haphazardly put in there or grabbed from the internet using APIs or anything. We're checking to make sure these are legitimate projects. And you can have everything from how to get started on the website to your tags and keywords that people might look up. You can even add information about the database after the fact. So once you have data, how people might be able to access an open data set and everything else you can think of. So we try to do our best there. So we'll cover that first topic first of reaching volunteers who are already looking for projects. This is the project finder. When someone goes to the website, they are able to visit this project finder and click on websites or click on projects to explore more. You'll notice a couple things here. One, we have a lot of filters. So the more keywords you can give that relate to your project and actually relate to your project, the better, because we want to make sure that people actually have all the resources they need to access the projects that they actually are interested in. So if you have K through 12 written on there as age groups here, that's great, but can a K through 2 actually do it? Should it be something that maybe should be labeled as families more specifically than just a young person, right? And then all the above, selecting topics from like space and astronomy to history and culture, etc. You'll also notice we have 1600 on the website right now, and it's marked from newest to oldest. Our newest to oldest is actually based on whether or not it's been updated recently. So it is new projects. So as new projects come in, they'll be showing up first. But I can, in fact, tell you that all four of these ones that are visible for my screenshot taken the other day, none of these are actually new. These are also just project leaders who really care about their projects and update it often. So the more often that you update these project pages, the better, because that allows us to ensure that it is newest information available, it is ready for someone to participate, and so it's been updated to include that or to make sure that people can get involved very quickly. So as a project leader, you also have access to a dashboard. This is the project stats dashboard. There's a whole set of things. If you click on project, you would be just shown to your project page. You have recruitment, which is another section that shows you all your people, or excuse me, volunteer manager does that. I'll actually show you this because it might be easier to see in toggling from one to the another, but I wanted to give you a view of it first. So project stats include things like project page views, but it also includes things like contributions. If I go back a page, you'll notice that there's this lovely thing right here that's this little star-ish type symbol. It's really tiny. I can show it close up in a little while too, but this is the SciStarter affiliate symbol. What that means is that these projects have a digital partnership with us. So we use API keys to be able to show tallies for every contribution someone makes. So Cloud Spotting on Mars is a citizen science project on Zooniverse. So each classification done on Zooniverse equates to someone getting a tally for their work in their SciStarter dashboard, assuming they signed up correctly based on the instructions on the page. So I'm gonna actually stop my share for a second and shift my screen so you can see the project page. Thank you, my friends from Cloud Spotting on Mars for letting me use their page for this. Let's do this. Okay. There we go. All right. So as a member of the SciStarter team, this is what my screen looks like. If you are the project leader, it'll look very similar. Other project pages, they will not have the edit tab, recruitment, volunteer manager, etc., because you aren't the leader of that project, for example. So for your specific project, let's pretend we're the Cloud Spy on Mars team. I can jump over to recruitment, as I mentioned, and it gives you advice on how to do more recruitment. Most notably, it includes the people finder. So if you do have a regional based project, that is especially helpful. Otherwise, it gives you a tool on the additional info to add to your project page and other ways to make it very findable. There's also a volunteer manager, which allows you to message all the participants and see how active they are. So you could you could scroll, you could change the contributions list to show you the most contributions first, not just based on time. And you can essentially figure out who your strongest volunteers are. So you could reach out to them for advice or a beta testing or some other type of connection that might be helpful to you. We could also help you reach out to those folks if there's ever any issue there as well. There is a regular messaging board that's similar, but just a different location that you can just send. That'll be personal messages. So one volunteer manager is all about sending everything. Sending a message to everyone. Messages is for the one-on-one messaging that someone might reach out to you as a volunteer, might reach out using the messaging to say, hey, I love your project. How do I do X? And that would show up here. What we were looking at before was the events or the project stats, excuse me. So just to scroll you through here, it is a good list of stats. These will be altering to in the coming year to be more effective at giving you the like streamlined data too. But we are going through that process right now, so unfortunately I can't show you any of it. We have demographics as well. Most notably, there's this section where it's projects that users who interact with your SciStarter page interact with. So to give you an idea of what your volunteers are curious about, it helps you kind of frame how you message to your volunteers. So if you notice a bunch of them are interested in globe at night, maybe it's because of the astronomy connection, but you can kind of build messaging based off of, oh, they seem to be interested in a lot of things. Maybe if I made a post about light pollution in relation to my project, it would also do well because they like Globe at Night, which is a light pollution project. All right, and then I'm going to jump over to contributions. So, as I mentioned before, the SciStarter affiliate program with the API connection to make the digital partnership available, this tells you the activity of your SciStarter volunteers, which is helpful in terms of being able to say like when they're most active. So, what your most promising marketing tools have been. So I track it on SciStarter side to say, okay, we posted a newsletter on January 15th, included cloud spotting on Mars, which is why we have a sudden jump in participation, for example. So if you want to start tracking those types of things based on your SciStarter volunteer list, this is a good way to kind of check those things. All right. And then lastly, I'm going to go to tools just so you can see there's information on becoming an affiliate. So if you would like to look into it more, you can also look at it here. So if any of you who do not have projects on SciStarter yet, I'm also going to give you, oh, maybe it's listed on here. There it is. I'm going to give you a link to the SciStarter API page if you want to explore this a little bit further. SciStarter affiliate information. Ta-da.
Yeah, and Emma, you might go into this, but I'm just curious on the participation stats that you have. Like, I also am a stats nerd and I love being able to see all of that. Are you guys able to? I know you have APIs with a lot of different platforms, but how are you able to pull participation stats from a project that, say, is doing its data collection on Survey 123 or something on an external page? Is it,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
so
just curious how you guys are doing that.
the way we kind of explain this is that we are like, so SciStarter is like a microcosm of the citizen science industry, volunteer-wise especially. So the group of SciStarter volunteers might not match your full volunteer list, right? So your Survey 123 participants is going to be much more vast than the folks just on SciStarter and also your project. So while there's overlap, we use it kind of like a testing case of like, we will help you grab new volunteers who are already on SciStarter doing other things, but we'll also help you study the volunteers that are serious and you can see how they, thanks, Angie, letting me know if I should use their data. Um, and so you can use this to kind of study their behavior over time too. But it won't track your entire list. If you're not a SciStarter affiliate too, the contributions are only really trackable through being an affiliate. I believe Survey 123 can be affiliated though. There's usually very limited barriers to that. It's usually either having the participants sign up with the same email, or on Zooniverse, it's like adding a collaborator to set up the tool. Um, and then on things like iNaturalist, that's also similarly, we just have folks add their username to both Zooniverse and iNaturalist. They add that to their SciStarter dashboard, and that sets up the connection as well. So it is very important that they're an affiliate to be able to track contributions because otherwise you'll end up with just the events. So you'll see the basics, the views, and like sudden peaks in views as well, and the conversions. So the conversion here we're referring to is like you're at the page, but if you click out to go and continue to learn more about the project, so it clicks to your website, that's what we're tracking here as the important bit. So you'll see maybe highlights based on the day. Unfortunately, Cloud Spy on Mars does not have like a clear trend to be able to show you right now, but um, I'm not sure what this trend is. Sometimes folks will also go to your project page and then Google you separately too, or find out you're on Zooniverse and just jump straight there instead. So there are limits, but what we try to make sure is clear is that we want to make sure you have a trackable microcosm of activity that you can use to understand your citizen science community writ large. Even though it is just the citizen scientists on SciStarter as account holders. Hopefully that answers your question, and I might talk more about that later too. That will hopefully help more. Okay, I'm going to jump backwards for a moment to this. Ta-da. Okay, we were here. Ah, my Google's been slow recently. Hopefully that doesn't continue. And so we want to be able to improve this too. As I mentioned, it'll be altering and streamlined over the next year. So if there's anything you notice that would be really helpful, feel free to send it my way, either literally in the chat right now or I'll get my email as well that you can connect to. Is there anything in mind right now from any of you all who are like, oh, it would be really cool to be able to track XYZ? Any thoughts? S4 and G4 storms. Is that the Google Analytics G4, or are you talking about like a actual storm, meteorologically speaking? Because unfortunately, SciStar will not be able to track the weather, but it might just be a misunderstanding. Um, okay. Oh yeah, absolutely, Lynn. I think yeah.
I'm sorry, I haven't got a video, so I can't. It's evening here, and I'm not looking too good at this time of the day after studying. So I did have a look for projects in the UK, specifically England, as that's where I am. But when I actually went into some of the projects, they were actually US based, so I was a little bit confused about the filter and searching
Mhm.
because I think that might put people off here. If you're looking for
Yeah.
something you are searching, and I tried sort of, I think UK or Great Britain and then England, and I appreciate there is more than one England. But it came back with some US focused ones. So
Yeah. I'm
US
actually going to write that down because that might be something our web developer needs to fix. So thank you for notifying me.
it's worth thinking about, because obviously we've got four nations, obviously Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, and Wales. But I think, particularly on my course at the moment with, this is obviously something we've been talking about, and it's really something I'd like to try and get more here, is have that opportunity of searching quickly. So I work very closely and I'm on the working group for the Buzz Club, which if you haven't looked at it yet, do Google it. It's really good, run by Professor Dave Gawson, who's quite famous here, Sussex University. So there are sort of small emerging little projects that would
Mhm.
be nice to be able to get it on, but I think it would be frustrating for people to search for something in the UK and then go into some, perhaps repeatedly go in and find that they're US based, which is great, but not useful for us.
Right, yeah, this is definitely not what should be showing up. I think there might literally be an error on our website, so I appreciate you noting that. I will talk to our web developer. For the other projects, though, so you're saying that these are added to SciStarter, or you're planning to add them to SciStarter?
Not at the moment. I think probably people are slightly reluctant because we're not sure what benefit there would be for your time input of putting it in if people aren't going to be able to find them because they're not coming back from searches. So I just literally wanted to throw it out and just say it might be my search technique. But perhaps on your side, if perhaps you have a look and see if there is something, because it looks like an amazing tool. It's just over this side of the pond, how, what perhaps we can do to increase activity both from the scientific perspective and also from obviously members of the public.
Yeah, we do also have like a slew of UK-based projects. We were working with them either, I think it was 2 years ago for Citizen Science Month, doing like a global day, picking out a couple of projects for them. I'd love to do that again, honestly. So if you have thoughts on like specific projects you are looking at to get more attention to, you can email me to a list of them if you'd like, and I can investigate whether or not we can get them on there if they're not already and make sure that they're searchable. Because it'd be
Yeah,
great to do
last
another
time
global.
doing designing a citizen science a bioblast for military veterans.
I
So
think I
to
missed one of those words, Len. I'm sorry.
So bioblast is
Bioblast. Oh, like a
yeah.
bioblitz, but different word. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I've got dyslexia, so I don't always say the right words. BioBlitz, yeah. So it's a combined BioBlitz and a psychological event. So the idea is we use local volunteer experts, and we're
Hmm.
inviting military veterans. And the psychology part of it, we're seeing what benefits they're getting from doing BioBlitz. So this is just an assignment, but I hope to approach some veteran charities
Yeah.
with it.
You know, I
So
actually have a contact for you. If you want to add your email to the chat, I'll write it down because I will send you a contact, or I'll connect you with someone who works. It's someone who created Soldiers to Scientists, who specifically works with families of military families and veterans to get them outside and doing citizen science. So I would love
brilliant.
to connect you because that might be
That's
helpful for your work
I'll
too.
do that. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so great segue actually, because we'll talk about Citizen Science Month now as our my third piece that's going to be the most of the content I'll give you because we are working hard to make sure that Citizen Science Month is up and running and ready to roll because every April we celebrate this lovely time of highlighting the people involved, highlighting the projects, highlighting the outcomes that are coming from the Citizen Science Project that don't often get the spotlight. And so I want to make sure that all of you are prepared to, if you're not already planning to use Citizen Science Month and ride the wave of the media attention and the excitement from both the SciStarter community and our partner communities as well. So as a reference point, we in 2025's April, which is Citizen Science Month each year, we engaged 500,000 volunteers, which is always amazing to see. We're hoping to increase that number this year. And then we see over 1,000 projects and events get attention. So this is a really big moment for citizen science. It's more activity than we ever see across the year. And last year we got a total of 3.06 million acts of science, which I'll explain what I mean by acts of science as well, too. We're aiming actually for 2.5 million this year, which does not mean that we're going for a lower number per se. We highly expect to surpass that. But because we're a US-based organization, we are also SciStar is also a partner of America 250, which is that anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence in America, as I mentioned before. So in alignment with that, we are tying our goal to that, but we fully anticipate surpassing that, which would be wonderful. So I hope you all can join us to make sure that happens. So, what is important to mention about that too is that our kind of themes for this year are more towards that civic participation, civic science, innovation, and service to where you live and to your locality, and collective problem solving. So, helping to like use the themes of the founding fathers and the beginning of the US to kind of guide our motivation to work on improving science in the US. Also, just as a side note too, we have a lot less data in the US right now because of different projects losing funding and different agencies losing funding. And so a lot of these projects kind of help to fit that or to tap into that gap and kind of start filling those gaps. Coco Roz is actually a prime example of this. My friend who's a Coco Roz fan in this call, that is a big deal for the National Weather Service. And so the more people we have involved in Coco Roz right now, the better to make sure that we can fill all those gaps that will start happening. So those acts of science, what we're referring to there is all the things related to citizen science. So attending an event, joining a project, the process of just saying, yes, I'm in, that is an act of science. Classifying images or sounds or videos on Zooniverse, all those different classification skills and activities, those are all acts of science. You can also participate in live science activities with all of us in the Acts of Science Connected programs. And that's a series of events that I'll give you a short FYI about in a moment here too. But really, it's the real contribution. So anything that your project does that is showing a real contribution. So for Coco Roz, that would be every precipitation measurement. So every single day, basically, that is at least one act of science to get that done. All right. Oop, I didn't know how nice. Okay, so this is a lot of stuff on it. I'm actually going to come back to it in a moment because I want to address this first. Based on that definition I just talked about for acts of science, does anyone on this call want to share what they think an act of science is for one of their projects? This could be literally based on what you think yours should be defined as on the SciStarter site, or this could be a project that you participate in that you're trying to figure out what that would be for that project. What is an act of science for your project? In a BioBlitz, it might be every photographic observation submitted to iNaturalist, for example. Yeah, Sarah, perfect. Act of science. Share a photo of river, lake ice conditions. And fresh eyes on ice involves measuring too, Sarah, right? So if there's like other parts of that project you have to do in order to get that photo or to get that full measurement, all of those steps should count as well. I remember
Cool.
saying,
It's mostly photos that we go for, but
oh,
yeah, we could do
makes it really
measurements as
easy.
well.
That probably makes it easy for lowering the barriers too, for sure. Yeah, if any of your super volunteers, then I know I've seen videos of people taking ice core samples and whatnot. I'm not sure how often that actually happens, but that would definitely count too. All data matters. Yeah, that's so true. Even zeros, right? We have to keep reminding the public zeros really matter. If you get zero pollinators in your pollinator watch survey, that's fine. You should be submitting the answer zero for that reason. Yeah. Anything else as examples?
We've been playing around more with qualitative data, including our participants, just sheer observations and questions. I mean, we have a pretty tight group that we work with, and we're not on SciStarter yet, but I'm intrigued to kind of tell that story of how to participate and yeah, and just simple observations that and questions that our community scientists have.
Awesome. And do they like, do you find those observations to be submitted separately? Like how would you know that number of qualitative data?
Yeah, so we hold community science events where youth are engaged. So it's a pretty controlled situation. So it's not like just a really big project that anybody can necessarily take part in. But I'm here intrigued by the potential for getting more community engagement for people who aren't part of our school-based programs.
Yeah, absolutely. You can also, if and when, hopefully, you add this to SciStarter, you can also specify we're looking for X type of people to sign up. So maybe you're looking for different schools and whatnot too. But that's excellent because if you're at an event with folks explaining their observations, a tally mark for each of those, you could report all that to SciStarter to be a part of the Acts of Science during April too. Like we're not going to go back and check. We're just looking for tallies. We're not interested in the actual scientific data because that's depending on the project too, that's not something they want to share. So we're okay with that. We're okay.
Well, and I've been thinking this is like kind of spurring me to think like maybe we just have a super simple Google form where
Okay.
people can submit their own observations and questions. And because we have a qualitative data set that we're working within, and it's pretty simple, but yeah, it's a very small regional program, which is why we kind of keep things contained a bit.
Well, I love it. Those are often the most like successful ones just simply because you are working hand in hand with the community too. Sometimes it's harder to do with spread out volunteers. Thanks for sharing, Katie. Um, okay, so I'm gonna backtrack to this for a moment and then we'll be in our final stretch of content so that we can talk more. But I wanted to give you all a list of things that you can do leading up to April and during April so that it's kind of more tangible in making plans. So if you would like to ride the media wave of Citizen Science Month, which I hope you do, that could mean a lot of things. That means adding your project or events to SciStarter to help get promotion or have it included within the final counts, and making sure it's up to date. And so if you have it on SciStar already, making sure it's accurate will A, push it up to the top of the list, and also make sure that we're paying attention to what you accomplish as well. I will note that everyone who has a project or event on SciStarter will be notified during the month to let us know of the results. So if it's not an affiliate, for example, we send an email out saying, hey, can you report acts of science based on what you received from your volunteers? And so you could just send us a number. We also ask for like the volunteer amount number. So maybe you had 30 volunteers volunteering one day. That's great information. We count that as well because that's how we get to our 500,000 number that we got to last year. And so that's all great. Those are the simple things that can just be year round. Having your project on there is important to do. We also have a media toolkit that's specific to Citizen Science Month, and I'll drop the link for all these things too in the chat after this. The media toolkit gives you examples of posts. It gives you all the different poster templates and flyers and random things. It is most used by facilitators. So if you'd like to use it as a project leader, you might want to just like take our templates as like a way to then promote your own project. And so you can just kind of scroll through and see what might be applicable. We also, and it's not on this page, but it's on my last page, we developed a blog post that's specific to project leaders making the most of SciStarter, and also the Citizen Science Month specific type templates to send to your volunteers. That third block there, share SciStar's free training resources. If you have volunteers that want to be a part of this, but you're worried about like some barriers to entry of any sort, we have trainings developed so that we can train regular folks on what citizen science is. So we'll do that work for you if you send them to our training page to learn about it. We want to make sure that everyone is kind of on the same page when they get to participating, and so this helps with like data quality. It helps with understanding the bigger picture of what citizen science is doing. There's a specific one called the Foundations of Citizen Science that is the #1 training. We've had about, I think it was 88,000 people have taken it already and gotten their badges. So it's very cool. It also adds a LinkedIn badge too. So if you have a LinkedIn and want to show off your certification, it's a good one. And then that last block there is to re-engage your existing participant base to get them excited about a collective goal. So you know our goal of 2.5 million access science for April in the US especially. It is a global goal. We're not limiting it to the US. But if you have a specific goal for your project, you are welcome to make your own goal to submit as information to your volunteers. So maybe you are a unique project only in Australia, very random example, but you have a goal to get 30 observations of the hammerhead shark, which I feel like is a pretty good goal because how often do you find hammerhead sharks? I wonder. Maybe they're everywhere, who knows? Anyway, but the point is that you come up with a goal that makes sense, that's getting your people excited to go and participate during a certain period of time. So you can make your own their version whether or not you want. Oh yeah, and Rihanna, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, we have a ton of professors who use the Foundations course to train their students before they start doing the projects. I teach a course at Arizona State that does the exact same thing. Yeah, it's a good time. Those last two bubbles on the left and right sides are other things that can happen that are just kind of suggestions here. If you are a project leader, it's less common for you to have an event, but I will note that a bunch of project leaders have had events on SciStarter where it's just like the Monkey Health Explorer Sprint, which is a Zooniverse project aimed at looking at red blood cells of monkeys. And so it was a sprint, a week-long event that just pushed people to participate as much as possible during that week. And then they talked about, okay, what did we find out during that time? And then on the left-hand side, you all are subject matter experts in something, whether or not it's your project or the one that you facilitate for. If you would like to be a subject matter expert, being an ambassador is great, and being a project leader is great too, because we can contact you, or rather, our ambassadors and other facilitators like the librarians can reach out to you through your project page to ask information of you. Whether that be, hey, are you available to be a subject matter expert and talk about your project during our event? Or just get some answers to questions that might be had before an event, for example. If you are an ambassador, it's great because we can access you any time of the year. But the training itself will at least get you in the position to be ready to help as well. All right, let me skip forward. Okay, so the last couple slides I just had were examples of what's available to you on the blog posts about how to post as a project leader to enable your volunteers to participate in Citizen Science Month. So as we have mentioned, or as I've mentioned a couple times before, Citizen Science Month in April is just, it's an ideal time. It's a wave of media, it's a wave of activity. So getting new people to volunteer and get to be a part of something that's really global, it's just a good opportunity to show that off. And then people who have participated before, but maybe have kind of disappeared, it's a good way to bring them back in as like, we need you. You were a part of this before, you know how to do it, we need you to join up again. And then one thing that we've been pushing for the last 2 years is it's not often that our volunteers really get to know the results. So the second you know what this data is accomplishing, we want to make sure it's published. And I don't mean as like a journal, but literally a social media post saying, this many volunteers came and we figured out that this much precipitation happened, and we don't usually get to know that information because X. Whatever it might not be a discovery, right? But it might be something that's considerable in terms of your project. What does it mean for you? Thank you. And so this is an example of a post. We partner with SciStarter. Always tag us too, because we'll repost it. We'll repost it and also add it to the website too, because it'll all be. We have a wall of fame that shows all the posts, which is really fun. And then our second example here is actually an email or an email template. So if you want to give them exact instructions or want to give a goal that you're going after, it's a good way to write out that too. So this April, my project is joining SciStar and others. We're going for that goal, or maybe you're contributing a different goal. Want to inspire others too. You can suggest using hashtag Access Science to get people involved. Whatever you want to do, we built the frameworks for you to kind of adjust however you'd like. We have our wants where it's like, yes, please at us and use hashtags Access Science. But as much as you can do to spread the word makes a big difference. Ooh, Lynn, I love that. Not receiving feedback is one of the biggest frustrations for participants here. Yes, absolutely. There is an effort to change that. Participatory science has been kind of ebbing and flowing as depending on the project, they'll be able to give data back as like, look what we discovered. Like we found this many asteroids in this one activity, which is sometimes able to happen, but it's hard to do that. And we have examples of like other projects where it's equivalent to lab time, like you just did this many observations, which means our lab hours, this many hours are already done. We don't have to do that again. You replace the lab time for us, which is really also great. So there are many ways, and I see Sarah has a hand up. Do you want to ask a question or give another example?
Oh, I had a question, which I
Yes.
think you touched on already, but I might have misheard. I'm looking at this go to citizensciencemonth.org to log your participation.
Hmm.
And and I just know that a lot of our people are not going to do that. Is there a way, but like I want to count their data in like people who are
Yeah.
already participating in our project, asking them to do another step is just I just don't see it happening. But is there a way for us to log that data without them logging it themselves? Like if we receive 50 photos, but only 25 of them get logged, is there a way for us to reflect that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Fresh Eyes on Ice, I believe, is connected to Globe Land Cover. Is that true?
Yes, but we also have
Okay.
another way that people can submit photos too.
Okay, gotcha. So land cover in particular, we actually log automatically. So as long as they were submitted properly via land cover, we will count those for you because we have you as an affiliate project. But for anything else, like the other submission method, or if you get emailed photos or anything regular like that, we'll be emailing project leaders, including you, to be able to submit data on their behalf. So last year, for example, each week, I think it was like every 5 days, we reached out to all the project leaders and said, okay, it's time. Over the last week, how many contributions did you get to your project? And it was uploaded. Because you have it also as an affiliate, we actually deduplicate that, meaning we get rid of the ones that we caught via affiliate if you give us an updated number. So you don't
Okay,
have to do any crazy work of like, okay, well that was on one submission method and that was the other. You can tell us the whole thing and we'll just subtract. Yeah, so we will definitely take care of that for you. We understand it's kind of hard to track some of these volunteers sometimes to do that. But it does have to be real submitted data. So if they took a picture and never sent it to you, then that wouldn't necessarily count, right?
right, right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes for every project too. Anything that's on SciStar, we will request because as much as we love our affiliate program, that's only about uh, probably under 100 projects on SciStarter. It's a great system, but I think it's either under 100 or under 300. 100 sounds right to me, but I'm not positive. So for a lot of you, that will be just getting us the information, that tally when you get there. And in order to do that, by the way, when we get to April, it's not here yet. I'll scroll down so you can see what this looks like. There's a report your acts on SciStar. There will be a button here, and it's also going to be one of these tabs up here. It'll say report acts of science, and you'll click on that. It's not yet available, but you can also, in the meantime, see what the public will see. So asking them to join a project, see events, explore the signature events, and then report acts is a part of it. You can also earn prizes too, which will be fun. Okay, I'm going to jump back because I have one more slide I wanted to show you, and I'll drop all the links in the chat as well. But I unfortunately, hold on, let me pause that for a second. So these are great questions too. So if you have any additional ones like this, I'm happy to answer them. We had, if it loads, there it is. I gave you a bunch of opportunities to kind of jump in and get involved. I do want to note that our blog post is possibly the most helpful for getting started for the first time, just to make sure that you are um, up to date with everything that is available to you as like a make the best of citizen science through SciStarter and Citizen Science Month, I should say. So I'm gonna drop this in the chat if I can copy it. I don't know if any of you have had this issue, but Google Slides does not want to work with me here. There we go. All right, all the links. And that includes a bunch of links. So for one, it's the blog post. It's also um, the adding your project or an event if you would like. And then the CSM, Citizen Science Month is CSM, that media toolkit, and the directory to the ambassadors if you'd like help and want to train more people on your project who might be available to help. And then the last one is the Citizen Science Month page and the People Finder. So two last ones. Those are probably the main items I'm going to send your way as ways to jump in. And hopefully, and if you have any questions too, you can always reach out to us. All right, so I'm going to pause there again and just see, because I know a lot of this was supposed to be how we can make sure you can connect and communicate with your project leaders. And next month, there's also another lunch and learn about communication with your volunteers and the public. So I just want to check to see where we stand and where we might get stuck in the communication. If there's anything in particular that you all feel is more challenging that we can note for better resources, or I can direct you to resources now. Is there anything that comes to mind as a difficult thing or something to easy get stuck in? Or something you've overcome? Any of the above. We're all doing great. Trying to preface for Anna's questions next month. That's okay too. Here's more
Well,
questions.
I
Yeah.
love the templates that you have for sending a message and prompting engagement around Citizen Science Month. Are there any other, like, what are some of the other ways, like you noted in the cloud spotting on Mars example, that they got a big bump when SciStarter mentioned them in the SciStarter newsletter? Is there a way to get featured in the SciStarter newsletter, or just like
Mm.
another opportunities for folks to kind of get that promotional bump from SciStarter?
Yeah, great question. So we base our newsletters on themes throughout the year. Citizen Science Month is a little bit different, and so if there's something, if you're like, oh, we need to be featured for Citizen Science Month, the best way is to literally email us and ask us to be featured, because we'll usually take that into consideration immediately. That kind of takes away kind of the pressure off of us of finding which projects to make sure to focus on. But one of our biggest wants for the newsletter is usually to have affiliate projects be featured so that we're able to give that really nice data back to the project leaders too. It's not as effective with the non-affiliates, and so oftentimes being an affiliate is definitely a really, really big deal. It's not a requirement. We can definitely get folks to your project regardless of being an affiliate, and put you in the newsletter. So, I mean, number one thing is you can email us and specify this is like our project is really important during these months. Can you include us in the newsletters? And we absolutely will. So like Fresh Eyes on Ice, for example, we submitted, or I think we added Globe Observer Land Cover, the kind of tied in project, but we did not recently mention Fresh Eyes on Ice. So I could add that before the snow ones are over, for example, or the snow months. Thumbs up. Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. And so really just asking allows us to do that. Otherwise, we go by affiliates and new projects and ones that just deserve a little bit more love, that we've noticed as well. Um, on ice, sweet. Um, yeah, so we don't want to make it exclusive, so we really do like it when project leaders communicate with us. So if you do want to do a partnered outreach to, whether that be on social media, we're also willing to do that as well. It just takes the extra step of what date do you want and what message are you trying to send, and we'll help you do so.
That's
I had,
awesome.
yeah. I had a question on here about working with facilitators. I know some of you are facilitators, but I just wanted to check if have you worked with facilitator groups like libraries and such, and what was the experience like if you did, or students in maybe Lynn's case?
It's interesting because I tend to at the moment be working with small citizen science things, say like the Buzz Club and some local ones.
Hmm.
And I think one of the challenges that seems to be going on in the academic world is the actual name, citizen science. There seems to be
Oh,
an
the term. Yeah.
yeah, the term, sorry. There seems to be a lot of dialogue around um, what it means to different people. And I understand in the US, community science is not a favoured term because what it means to you, we're here, community probably means something different. So yeah, I think that's perhaps at the moment, that's the biggest thing that's happening here. I don't know if that's global or with yourselves, or is it just something we've become fixed on here?
No, that's happening all over the place. And I know AAPS definitely has language about that, Brianna, I'm pretty sure. I know SciStarter specifies citizen science and acts of science. Acts of science is our method to go for the volunteerism aspect of it as opposed to labeling anything. It's also a way to
Yeah.
kind of lower the barrier immediately. That's why we
Hmm.
we kind of shifted to that. I will note that we do expressly use citizen science still because of it is the most globally used version of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but there's a lot of connotations. So like every presentation I do, like the four that I did over the last month, has included a slide that says, here's a bunch of synonyms you might want to use instead, and you are welcome to. Like whatever fits your audience makes a big difference. It should not be that changes whether or not someone wants to participate, right? So like LA Public Libraries, Los Angeles Public Libraries out in California, they specify neighborhood science. Community
Well,
science here is tied a lot to the environmental justice community, so we try to avoid that one unless it's specifically for um, environmental monitoring prior to using
hmm.
scientists' help too. But it's also used in, I mean, that's my preference. There's also a whole post, thank you, Rihanna. Yeah, it talks about why we use participatory um, in the association.
I'm sort of a lot older than the rest of you, and another reason why I haven't got a camera. And citizen science is something I've grown up with. So,
Mhm.
just for me, it's just like just leave it alone. But
Yeah, it's
I know
global
that's
isn't
a big thing. But for my project, for my assignment, I've called it Discover Together because it's a two-part thing. So it's the science, the data collection, but of course, it's about the veterans because there's some interesting. Uh, I'm also a psychologist. There's some interesting stuff coming out at the moment about nature-based and attention-based work with veterans, particularly for moral injury. So so
right?
something like for me, something like sort of Discover Together takes away the nuances, but as I say, it's just my little project for my assignment. So you know,
Yeah. I mean, whatever works with your community that you're working with, I think is the best call, right? Yeah. Anyone else for working with different groups? Have any of you participated in Citizen Science Month before, or is this all new to you all?
It's new for me, and we were talking, our project team was talking about trying to do a coordinated campaign for April because that is often the time when ice starts melting and breaking up here in the north. Um, so we're
Yeah,
excited to join this year, or to make it more of an active effort this year.
that's great. And I'm excited to hear that because I've been worried about April being well, I was in Arizona for the last decade, and so it was like snow in April. What do you mean? So it's good to hear that that's like actually a prime time because I've been nervous about figuring out um, when to promote certain projects because of that. So thanks for letting me know. I'll make a note too, because that probably means I can add it to the CSM website too. April. Okay, cool. April and May prime breakup months. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'll go ahead and stop then. Rihanna, if you want to take it over, I'll stop or did you add something to the end of this? I can't remember.
I just added something to the chat. So next month we are going to have another event on a similar topic. We're going to be talking with science communication consultant Anna Funk, who I know has worked with the SciStarter team a lot. Probably, I think she's been doing communications around citizen science for close to a decade, and I would say she's one of the experts in science communication for participatory citizen community science. And so Anna has been working on building out a course on science communication for the participatory sciences for us. And she's going to preview that course and just kind of talk with some project leaders about common science communication challenges, what works, what doesn't work, and kind of give you a taste of what you might be able to get out of this longer form course that we'll be launching this spring on AAPS Connect. So if you're interested in that, I did drop the registration link in the chat. And we also, I think, most folks on here are probably aware that we have a conference coming up, but the conference is a fun time to get to learn about more projects and to chat with other folks. And so I'm just going to put a link to the conference page in. Abstracts are due the end of the month. We'll give you a kind of early notice that we're going to be extending the deadline until the middle of February. So you'll have a couple of extra weeks to get a presentation abstract in. Presenting is the best way to engage with that event. And so if you are a project leader or studying the participatory sciences and have something that you want to share, it's a great way to connect with people and meet other people working in this field. So thank you, Emma, for sharing about some of the SciStarter resources. I feel like I always learn something new, and it's nice to have this documented and to have that new blog post that you put together. I think is a great resource for folks. Yeah, it's so cool to see what all you are able to track and offer project leaders on the SciStarter page. So thanks for sharing. And yeah, and thank you all for being here today. And hopefully we'll catch you again soon at another AAPS event.
Thank you.